I'm Mike,
And I'm Amber. Welcome to the Covenant Chronicles,
where we tell you the truth about relationships.
giving you the tools to build the foundation you always needed. Welcome back to the podcast.
I had a slight hint there.
You had a slight hint.
Yeah, a little better warning than I normally get.
Oh, because I gave you a look.
Yeah, it's the look. It's always the look. Does it,
That's it.
Welcome back, y'all. We're back. This is our first podcast officially with you as Mrs. Hanzik.
Yes. We got married this weekend.
Yeah, we did a thing. About time. Everybody's gonna probably wonder or think, wow, that's crazy. You guys weren't even married. No, we were not up until this last weekend. And that should be a lesson for everybody that you are overthinking it. You have value and you have the ability to help someone in your life. So stop the self-doubt and just go help someone.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is completely off topic.
It is, but like when we started this, there were people that were like, why is it called the Covenant Chronicles? Like, you're not even married. Like, well, we're not technically yet, but
Yet, and now we are because we built our own covenant.
Yep.
Even put it in my vows. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Amber asked me what I wanted to, or what we should talk about tonight. And I said I wanted to talk crap, so here we are. Talking about a hot topic, and this is going to ruffle some feathers, and I think this is going to be one where you get two different sides of a very divisive line, and you're going to get people that totally agree with us and say, see, I told you so, or we're going to get people that completely disagree with us. And the fun part about this is we have been on both sides of the fence at some point in our lives, and we have learned from that. And so we can come at it from a perspective of seeing both sides and not just, living one side or only understanding one side.
Yeah.
And the topic for this evening is OnlyFans and porn.
Yeah.
So this is a good one, right? Because, you will meet couples, especially nowadays, right? Where this is becoming more socially acceptable. And you're seeing more and more women, everyday women, get into doing OnlyFans. You're seeing more and more situations in which guys are regularly watching porn. You're seeing more and more situations where this is becoming an accepted norm.
Mm-hmm.
And, even when we first got together, that was something we had kind of talked about. And it, I previously in the past had, I wouldn't say issues per se, but I did watch porn, and I never did the OnlyFans thing. I will say, nothing against, I guess, per se, that situation or that side of that industry, but I never did that. I couldn't see paying for stuff when it was free. So more or less me being cheap. But that being said, and when we got together, though, not to say it hasn't ever been a thing in our relationship, but that was a something, we talked about a lot. And it's a thing where I told you, I don't watch porn. It's not something I do. I don't agree with it for men. And this was after learning, and having situations where it was destructive in my own, previous marriage. And what's interesting is I didn't even have necessarily an addiction to it, right? It was just one of those things that was, well, this is normal, right? Um, and what I realized or came to realize is just how not normal in the sense of not natural that it is. And then seeing, friends and people that I knew where they had legitimate addictions to pornography or OnlyFans or whatever have you. And, you know, it, I cannot see a situation in which this is acceptable. And, when you want to start taking measures and saying, well, this and that, and, say, for example, if we were just standing on the religious side, right? And I said, well, of course, because essentially being involved in OnlyFans or even on, consuming OnlyFans or porn, it's really modern day prostitution, right? And so, of course, there's the biblical religious side of it that we can argue and say, this is unacceptable. But then let's take a step back from the religious side for just a minute and actually examine this, right? From a worldly point of view or from just that side of things, if a guy is watching porn or subscribing to OnlyFans models, I can promise you that he is not being who he should be.
Mhm.
And you'll get, probably guys and girls out there that are going to argue, wives or spouses or partners that are, oh, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And guys, trying to argue the point. But here's the thing, you can never say that you've met a man that watches porn or subscribes to OnlyFans that is really, truly in his masculine and living up to his full potential,
Mhm.
right? It just doesn't happen. And you'll get are varying degrees of that, right? But here's the thing is if you were to argue, say, oh, well, my husband is X, Y, and Z, and my husband is, all of these things, and I'm submissive because he's masculine and this and that, and he watches porn or he subscribes to OnlyFans, then my question is if he stopped doing that, how much better would he be?
Mhm.
Right? Because if you're in that situation, it is a place in which he's not living up to his true potential. And maybe it's better. See, and here's the thing for the women's side of it. If that is your um standard,
Mhm.
then that just means in your past you've lived in a place or been in a place in which it just happened to be a lesser standard than you're currently living. But that doesn't mean that that's where it could be,
Yeah.
right?
Uh, I think it's also important to note that most of the time, I think porn addictions are linked to dopamine chasing, right?
Yes.
Um, and it's that like massive dopamine hit that people are seeking and searching for, and that just happens to do it very easily. And then it becomes this trap of like, oh, well, it's not that bad. Like, I'm just watching people online. Like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just watching, and I can say being on the other side of it, like in my previous marriage, that was an issue. And I swung from feeling very insecure about it to, well, it's just gonna happen, so I guess I'm just gonna like, oh, whatever, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not gonna be insecure about it. Like I just it's not it's whatever. It's fine, you know. To now like being at a place where like you said like it was just that that was that was the standard in that relationship, right?
Mhm.
And now I do see it differently. And, you know, I also see it from the side of, it is a dopamine addiction, but also like the religious side of it and all of the different things that go along with it. And I mean, I personally have obviously never had a problem with a porn addiction, but like women do also have that issue. It's not just a male thing.
Mhm.
There are women who also struggle with it as well. And I just think that it's detrimental to a relationship if you are just chasing the dopamine. Well, why are you chasing that dopamine? And why is that your choice for doing that?
Well, not only
But oh, go ahead.
not only that, but the dopamine side of it, right? Because that's a deeper issue because dopamine is like a drug, right? And the flip side to that too is there's not a scenario in which you're like, yeah, I subscribe to OnlyFans or I watch porn on a regular basis, and there's not a level of disconnection inside of your relationship.
That's where I was kind of gonna go with my next thought was like what's going on in your relationship because I feel like if there's actually like that genuine connection in your relationship that that's not what you're going to be seeking and searching for
Hmm.
and chasing after basically.
But what about what about the things that I see online? I go online and I watch it because I want my wife to do it, but she doesn't.
But okay, are you actually like discussing sex openly in your relationship and in your marriage? Like, are you actually having discussions about things that you enjoy, things you want to try, things, you know,
You're so cute, babe.
what?
Your niceness about discussion. Oh, I was straight coming after the men on that one. That was straight up like, well, if you got your crap together, I promise you she will.
Well,
If you're handling your stuff and you're not watching porn and you're not subscribing to OnlyFans and you're having that much intention, right? Because I've had, okay, let's take it there, right? The men have very little that they can hold value to in this life.
mhm,
One of which is their time. And I can promise you that almost every man on the face of this earth values his time as a asset more so than anything else.
mhm,
And I have heard the point argued by people that were previously heavily involved in the adult industry that it is worse for a man to do the crap online or subscribe to OnlyFans than it is for him to go cheat.
mhm,
And I'm not going to say, hey, yes or no. And I'm not trying to argue, oh, yeah, well, you should go cheat on your wife instead of watching porn. But what I am going to say is your justification of, oh, it's just online is a load of crap,
mhm,
right? Because you are intentionally giving your time energy, and if it's OnlyFans, resources to someone that is not your spouse and then complaining that your spouse isn't doing what you want. Well, she didn't do. Okay. Well, what are you doing in your life? Are you handling your stuff? Does she feel physically, emotionally, and financially safe with you? Because if she doesn't, she's not going to do those things that you're hoping she wants or that you are hoping that she does
Well, yeah.
or that she will.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. But I can also guarantee, like, if that's a regular thing, she doesn't feel those things. And if she knows about it, she
Mhm.
really is not feeling emotionally safe or wanted or any of those things.
Mhm.
I mean, I think guys like to chalk it up to women just being insecure about it. But even if it is an insecurity, like, is that, shouldn't you be doing something? Like, shouldn't that be an issue? Like, if she is insecure about it, why are you continuing to do something that's making her insecure? Like, shouldn't you want to change that?
You should, and I think most men do. I don't believe the issue lies in them not wanting to change it. I believe the issue lies in them not handling their own crap,
Oh,
right?
that's
And
true.
them not cleaning up their side of the fence and them not focusing on being the man that they're called to be, right?
Mhm.
We talk about this all the time, and especially like obviously in men's group about like the man that God calls you to be, because he has a purpose. And this whole, we like to joke about modern church, and I forget the podcast I heard it on, but this is stolen from another podcast calling it churchianity, right?
Mhm.
Um, and we joke about that, about the victim mindset, right? But I think that's a lot of it is men get stuck inside their own heads and play this victim card to themselves, and the woe is me and the poor is me, and they get complacent and they get comfortable, and that's not at all who we are supposed to be. That's not at all who we're called to be, right? We're called to be doers. We're called to be overcomers. We're called to strive every day to be the best version of ourselves, and not to say that we're going to complete that every day, because some days we're going to fall short. But we talked about that, and it's funny because if you ask, we've talked about this on previous podcasts, and if you ask any woman about her intuition and can she sense, when a guy is just doing stuff just to do it, not because he cares, right? She can tell the difference.
Mhm.
Um, you women are extremely intuitive in the fact that you can sense when we're in our heads. You can sense when we're overthinking. You can sense when we are struggling to get out of bed in the morning. Like, you can sense all that crap, right? If we're in a certain place and we try to tell you, no, we're doing great, and or back to like one of our previous podcasts talking about when she gets mad about taking out the trash, or she gets mad that we don't ever help around the house, so we start vacuuming just because we're trying to get laid, right? Like, and you guys can sense that. So with that being said, when you look at any situation, right? And we talked about this because unfortunately, I've seen so many divorces and separations recently, and in 100% of the cases, right? Not 99, not 98, not 95, not 90, 100% of the cases in which she asked for the divorce, asked for the separation, said she needs space, any of those situations, he is not doing the crap that he needs to do. He goes to a job that he hates. He comes home. He sits on the couch. He knows more about the quarterback of his favorite football team statistics than he does his own personal life, including his finances, including his future. He doesn't have goals. He doesn't have vision. He doesn't have outlook, right?
Yeah.
And so these are the same guys. And I won't say that all of the guys I've talked to have had this. Um, but those same guys in those situations tend to be in the same place of we're watching porn or we're subscribing to OnlyFans or we're in these online chats with these girls or whatever the case may be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is a circle of chasing dopamine to try and make us feel better because deep down we know that we're not operating to our potential. We're playing the victim, we're playing the poor me instead of taking an inventory of our lives and saying, okay, I need to get my stuff together because this is not where I want to sit. We look for that cheap dopamine hit.
Mm-hmm. I do like, uh, obviously, we believe in God and go to church. And I'm going to be honest when I say, like, I truly do believe that porn and OnlyFans, whatever, is the enemy's way of keeping you stuck. And I
One of
think
them.
men need to, like,
Hmm.
and women, because it can be both, be aware of that.
Hmm.
I think a lot of things surrounding porn, even to be honest, like masturbation, I think they're things that keep you stuck.
Hmm.
And I don't think that I don't think it's talked about enough or made aware enough for people to be like, oh, you know,
Hmm.
that's what's happening.
Hmm.
Because it's just so like, it's just like everyone does it. It's what you do, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, well, and that's, it's funny because, like I said, this is going to be a very divisive topic. We're going
Hmm.
to get couples that, listen to this or people that listen to it and they go, "Oh, see, blah blah blah. I agree." Or the other side of people going, "You totally have it wrong. I'm so happy and I do blah blah blah. I'm an OnlyFans model or my wife's an OnlyFans model and blah 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 blah." And all this crap. And the funny thing is like i- we come from a different side of things, right? Like we didn't come from this side of the fence. We came from the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
In both of our previous marriages where we were much more accepting of stuff.
Hmm.
Even the beginning of our relationship, we were much more accepting of stuff.
Yeah.
And then it grew into this place of we go, wait a second, what holes are we trying to fill? What voids are we trying to fill?
Hmm.
Right. And I've seen situations, right? If we want to talk about the OnlyFans side of it, I've seen situations where, I've heard OnlyFans models say things that I'm like, okay, I agree with their perspective on that. But when you look at the overall majority of this stuff, like it is not a situation where I can say, okay, somebody is truly happy doing this and this is the best version of themselves,
Hmm.
right? It is always used as a get rich quick scheme
Hmm.
because let's be honest, in the world we live in, sex sells
Yeah.
and it's used to advance their life.
Hmm.
But in all of those situations, like you see situations where the connection, the relationship that should be there is just it's not there in the way that it should be. And you see these situations where like I've never seen a situation where she's doing OnlyFans and the guy is out there grinding as hard as he possibly could and doing the stuff and owning his crap the way he should. Every situation that I've seen, she does OnlyFans and he supports it. And I'm like, this dude is coasting. And at some
Yeah.
point, she felt the need to try and support the situation. And then it just circles back to what I say about dudes getting their crap together.
I mean, there's probably one somewhere, but like, it's just not going to be common. But I think that also, like, you as a man, like, if you are in your masculine and owning your crap and doing what you say and all of those things, that's not what you want in a partner.
No, there was a point in time in my life in which it came up, and it never got to that point, but it did come up in my previous marriage. And there was a point in time in which I was okay with it. But when I look at my life and I look at where I was mentally, emotionally, physically, all of that, I was in a shitty place.
Hmm.
And ever since I started working on myself, like I told you that from like day one, right? Like we set boundaries and standards, and I'm like, and even to a certain point, I went back and after the marriage was done and actually had apologized to ex-wife for being in that mental place, in that state where I thought that that was okay.
Hmm.
Right. But that's what I'm saying in the sense of like, we come from the opposite side of like where it was here. And so when I'm telling you, you being, and the same situation of like watching porn and not really caring and all that sort of stuff, right? Like wasn't great,
Yeah.
you know? And then when you work on the opposite side and it's like, okay, who am I? Who do I want to be? Who what decisions am I making to be that person?
Hmm.
And you start analyzing all that. It's not a thing.
No.
I'm telling you right now, quickest way to you becoming single is you trying to do OnlyFans.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, but I mean, in all seriousness, it's a different thing when you start understanding this and you start seeing that this is not, there is no point in which you can be consistently watching porn or subscribing to OnlyFans and have true, genuine connection with your partner.
Hmm.
Your brain does not work that way. And I don't care how good you think you are. I don't care how well you think you hide it. You are in a fog. And until you quit that crap, you're not going to see it.
I mean, truthfully, though, like you kind of mentioned it earlier, but like, let's just be honest about it. Like, it really isn't that, it really isn't different from cheating on your spouse in all actuality.
Hmm.
How is it any different than emotionally cheating? Because it's not like that's what you're doing,
Yeah.
but society like convinces itself that that's not. Oh, it's just porn, but it's not. Like you
Hmm.
are using your time, as you said, on something else that is not your spouse, not your wife, not your husband, whatever the case is,
Hmm.
on someone else. So it really isn't any different than cheating on them. And I can see, like, when you first said it's probably better to go cheat on them, like, I kind of was like, ooh, I don't know about that.
Mhm.
But like realistically, if you think about it, there's a lot of instances where people have been cheated on and the person really does like y- y- like cut it off completely, like it's done, they change their whole whatever, and that's
Mhm.
not ever a thing again, versus typically when people get caught with porn they're like, okay, I won't do it again. But that's
Mm.
not true because they just hide it and continue doing it.
Yeah, and they might go a day or two, and then, they just get better about hiding it and using the private browser on their phone and,
Right.
deleting their history and whatever have you.
Right.
Mhm.
It's not actually ever changing.
No.
So, yeah, I don't know. There is a lot to this, and I know it's very, like, a very divisive topic, and really, like, we have both been on the other side of the fence with it, and I genuinely do think when we first got together that I told you, like, that doesn't bother me and I don't really care,
Mhm.
but that is the opposite of how I feel about it now.
Yeah. So here's the fun question though, right? We always try to give people a action step. So what action step can we give them based on this? That is the
Uh,
question.
I would just say to evaluate, like, if you're listening to this and you realize that you do, even just like occasionally, and when I say occasionally, I mean like once a week or like, even once a month, like, I think that's too much, right? So if you are listening and you're like, "Ooh, well, I do that." Maybe sit down and evaluate, like, why are you doing that? And what are you lacking in your relationship right now that you should probably go, like, search for in your relationship or inside yourself to fix?
Yeah, it's a good one because there's something there.
Mhm.
Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, it's there.
Yeah.
And you're living I'm telling you right now, you're living in a cloud. So if you can't, figure it out and you can't put your phone away, you can't stop, talk to your spouse about it. Figure out ways. I've seen dudes go as far as locking certain stuff on their phone and making their wife come up with passcode or a pin,
Mhm.
right? There's plenty of books out there. There's, Your Brain on Porn, Centerfold Syndrome. Centerfold Syndrome is a fantastic book that shows how this has been programmed into you for years because of
Mhm.
society and why we are where we are. Um, there's tons of resources out there. You know, get involved in if you're a guy and you're struggling with this, or you're a woman and you're struggling with this, get involved in a men or women's group,
Mhm.
right? There's probably somebody there. But if you're actively seeking to grow yourself and change who you are, these things are not going to be something that you're attached to and that you're stuck to.
Right. Yeah, those are good ideas.
That's
Well,
it. That's all I got for him.
yeah, I think that's That's a lot for now. So
Yeah.
go unpack that. Try to figure out what's going on inside yourself and try to move forward.
And try not to get too emotional, regardless of what side of the fence you're on.
There you go.
Listen to what's actually being said and analyze it.
Yeah, for sure.
On that note, we'll catch you all next time.
Bye, guys.